right, welcome back into the show, and I am super excited for this episode. Again, we're doing one of those mini podcasts. This is part two of the mini podcast series. We're switching over. I was in East Lansing this weekend, and I am super excited to bring back in. He's been in a little bit, but my guy, Aaron Smith. Aaron, how are you doing today, man?
Great. Thanks for having me again. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm pumped for this episode. I was really excited. This was the game I circled on the Michigan State's calendar. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, if there's a great non-conference game to go to, I was like, ooh, Washington, Michigan State. And we were so pumped throughout the game to go. Like, we were getting ready. We were ready to go. We get in
Yep.
the stadium. First drive of the game, Washington goes right down the field, scores a touchdown, kind of drains the energy out of the arena, and that just kept happening over
Yeah.
and over and over again. So talk to me a little bit about just kind of the disappointment factor of it not being a great game.
Yeah, well, Michigan, our stadium is they're always rocking. But with especially what's been going on campus with Mel Tucker's, we were kind of hoping something crazy would happen, and it was kind of the opposite of that. So we were loud, but we kind of saw how the rest of the game was going to go on the first drive, and you really never want to see that. So it was demoralizing, but overall fun day. So
Yeah, I
right,
mean, it was a really fun day. Like I had a
was
blast, but I think we were both expecting to see like at least a solid game,
at least a fight.
and
Yeah,
exactly, at least a fight, and we just did not see that today. Michael Penix, he might have your guys' number, like 473 yards, four touchdowns, zero interceptions. I think that puts his total over 1,500 yards passing in four games against Michigan State.
yeah. We
That
just like to let him have a day every time he plays us. So I don't really know
yeah,
what to say about that.
that is just absolutely ridiculous. It's insane stat line. And I mean, this is easily the best team he's ever had. Like the Washington receivers were making some crazy catches. Ndoze was really impressive. He had
Yeah,
8 receptions, 180 yards, and then Jalen Polk too with 118 yards. Some of the deep balls Penix was throwing was just
yeah.
unbelievable.
I mean, Penix throws dimes, and I don't want to give him too much credit because we didn't play very good defense, but their receivers looked very good.
Yeah.
And I'd say for the rest of their schedule, those teams need to watch out for their passing game.
Yeah, I mean, like the Pac-12 is so stacked, and Washington's just one of those teams. I've talked about it a lot on the podcast. They're really impressive, and it was fun to see in person. Like I
Yeah,
was just shocked to see just how talented Penix was. I mean, I've picked some good games to come up to Michigan
yeah,
State for. I went to the Ohio State game last year, and yes, they both ended up being blowouts. But these two teams that I watched are, I mean, they're both incredible, and the
yeah.
quarterback play
It's
just
always fun to
unbelievable.
watch a talented team play. So
Exactly, exactly.
it's a good
But
Saturday.
let's get into some Michigan State football. I want to
Yeah,
talk about them, kind of zero in on them. They're 2-1 to start the season, and I mean, they've been playing a lot of home games, so I'm sure you've
yeah.
been having a blast like every
No,
weekend, man.
for
Is
sure. Yeah,
awesome. It's awesome. But they got a win against Central week one and a win against Richmond week two. It's 31-7 against Central, 45-14 against Richmond. So that's why I'm sure you guys had some high hopes going into this one. It was like you starting out slow, but then getting ready for the big guns, and then the Mel Tucker news kind of just took
yeah,
over. But talk to me a little bit about what you've seen from the team so far and how they can kind of grow from there.
yeah. So next week is going to be our fourth straight home game. So the campus is going crazy every weekend these past 3 weeks. So it's been a lot of fun. But unfortunately, we don't have any really stars for us to look out for. I mean, we had that Tyrell Henry touchdown catch that against Central, so that was insane. And then the Richmond game, all of our guys played well, but it was Richmond, so like it's not like we were like, oh, we're going to the Natty. No, it was just
Yeah.
like the W. So
Hmm.
so going into week three, we had hopes, but the Mel Tucker news really just brought down the vibe on the campus. It was kind of just like, oh man, we already paid this guy so much money, and then he's going to go out and do this and
Hmm.
ruin our whole reputation and our whole season. So after that, me and my friends, we were pretty pissed off about that. But
Yeah.
So far, we've liked what we've seen from Noah Kim and Nate Carter. I think they're obviously our best players for the offense. So I mean, for the rest of the season, we just need those guys to step up, the O line to step up. But
Hmm.
these past 4 weeks or the past 3 weeks and next week, it's just so much fun up here.
Yeah. I mean, the vibe during the game is just
Yeah,
unbelievable, man.
it's awesome.
Like both Michigan State and Purdue, when I went on the campus, like they were really going crazy. And even in the first
Yeah,
quarter, like you felt the vibe and just how passionate the fans were. You saw a couple delay of games from Washington. They had that one punt where like it was because of the student section, really. They had the delay of
right.
game on third
Yeah,
down, make it 3rd and 15, and you know, that's going to be tough for some teams. And I think that kind of leads into moving to the schedule, which we're going to talk about a lot. But you got Maryland coming in next week. Maryland's been hot. They won their game last week. They're 3-0. They got Tua's little brother Talia,
yep.
and like it's definitely going to be interesting to see if Michigan State can bounce back from that performance. So, what do you see happening in this Maryland game? Do you think they can bounce back?
I think it's winnable.
Okay.
It's definitely a big game for our schedule because if we
Mm-hmm.
don't win this, we don't have many home games left. So if we don't win this one, then we're gonna be 2-2, and that's not what you want to be with
Yeah.
half your home or most of your home games already in the past. So I think we're gonna come out excited, come out with high energy. This will be like another week of D'Antonio being at practice again. So hopefully he can get the guys. I don't really know much about what his role is, but I've heard he's like associate head coach.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping he can help with the mentality of our guys coming into Maryland.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think this is going to be a solid game. Looking at looking at Maryland, like again, looking at the line that Maryland is favored, but they didn't play many teams. They beat
Right.
Townsend the first game, they beat Charlotte the second game, and then they kind of killed Virginia last week, which is a solid win, but Virginia's not a great football program. So I think this is a winnable game for you guys. But my question is are you any concerned about the way Noah Kim looked last week, or do you just
Yeah.
are you okay with him?
I'm pretty concerned. I kind of just I don't want to like formulate an entire opinion on him, but uh, it kind of proved that he can't show up in the big games yet.
Yeah.
So when we have Michigan coming to town sooner or later, I'm hoping he'll be better than he was next last week because we're gonna need him. I don't think Maryland obviously is as big of a game as Michigan, so hopefully he uses it as a bounce back, and then he goes on the road and he has some good performances. But with the Michigan game coming up, we really just need to improve, and it starts with him. So
Yeah, I like what you're saying with the improvement and like looking at your schedule coming up, it's Maryland next week and then it's Iowa. So what you're looking at is like, okay, you played one of the most talented teams in football in Washington. Now it's a little bit of a step down, but it's still a very talented team. I think you're
right,
just looking for any stage of improvement from Kim because Kim's probably going to start the game. And
yeah,
like some of the numbers from your first two games, they're actually good numbers. You guys were one of the best teams in average yards per play off the pass. That's a really good number to have, and it means your offense can be explosive. Just Kim's got to put it in the right spot, and he struggled in that game, but I do think you still got to give him a chance, and I think this is a really big game for you guys coming up,
huge.
and I mean, two very, very evenly matched teams. I think Maryland's similar to State in ways, but it's definitely going to be interesting. I'm excited. If you had to pick, who would you pick in this State Maryland game? Do you think they can bounce back?
Yeah, Michigan State, we're gonna win. We're gonna win.
Okay, I like it. I like it. I think I would have to roll with you. I think you guys are gonna bounce back. D'Antonio with a week of practice, I kind of like that. And Maryland's coming off a high with that Virginia win, so I'm
Right,
thinking they're gonna
and the other
be,
yeah,
yeah,
the
yeah,
other
they're gonna
thing
be all
is
over
if
it.
it was at Maryland, it
Hmm.
might be a totally different story. But when it's when it's even matched, I'll take our student section hyping our team up any day of the week.
Exactly, exactly. All right, so let's move into the next week. Then you play at Iowa, okay? And
That's
Iowa's
tough.
been tricky. It's a little weird. They haven't looked good in moments, and then like all first half, I was texting with Jonas Cerrone, and he was like,
Right.
"Man, Iowa looks horrible." And then the second half, they end up with 41 points. So you just never know with this team. So talk to me
Yeah.
a little bit about this matchup. Do you think if you guys are able to beat Maryland, would it be just another step up? You guys could keep winning, or
Yeah, I think definitely a win against Maryland will help, at least with our energy going into an away game. I think I mean, no Big Ten school is easy to play at, so it's going to be a tough atmosphere. I caught some of that podcast with Jonah,
mm-hmm.
and I heard that he likes the defense still, so I think it's going to be a big day for the offense. I think Cade's going to be poised, so the defense is going to have to rattle him somehow, which is so tough when you're away. So like that's it. All comes down to what the energy that we come into and how we start off the game.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
but
it's definitely
I
going to be interesting.
yeah,
I think the way Iowa's been playing, like they're starting to figure out their offense a little more, which makes it tough going on the road there.
right.
Like I was just against Western Michigan again. It was a bad start. They're down 7-0, but then they're finally starting to figure it out. And what we talked about a lot with Jonah is the fact that Cade is just so much better than anybody else they've had. And
Yeah,
again, he's not looking like the Cade McNamara we saw at Michigan, where he was actually like playing solid and taking care of the ball. Because I mean, his stat line's horrible against Western Michigan. It was 103, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Like that's a
so
horrible
bad.
stat line. But the fact of the matter is like at least he can throw the ball more than 10 yards when they did not have that last year. And their defense is good enough to where I think they're really going to bother Noah Kim, especially
Hmm.
with a Washington defense that's pretty good, but they're not known for their defense, and that seemed to really bug Noah Kim. So I don't think you guys have enough to compete with a team like Iowa, but I do think you could kind of hang around.
Yeah, I think our play calling and our receivers need to have a huge game because if we can't pick apart the secondary at all, like with Washington, then it's gonna be a bad day.
Yeah, yeah,
We couldn't find anything against Washington. I mean, it was like zero offense. So if that happens again, it's over. I
yeah,
mean, it's just not happening.
yeah. So do you think you can win that game or no? If you had to pick here,
I'm taking Sparty over anybody. So
Sparty over anybody. All
I
right.
don't know if you're gonna
So
actually bet.
we don't even have to put that prediction down. That's okay. That's okay. All right. Michigan State Rutgers. Okay, let's talk about this one a little bit. Rutgers, they're actually an underrated Big Ten team. I actually think, as a Michigan fan, I'm a little scared for the game next week because Rutgers has looked pretty good throughout the whole year, and Michigan just came off their worst performance of the year. Rutgers in the first 3 games they beat Northwestern, beat Temple, beat Virginia Tech. So I actually think that's a tough back to back with at Iowa and then at Rutgers. So I mean, I don't know if
We
you
have,
guys can win that game,
I
but
think we'll be coming off a bye week for the Rutgers game,
okay, yeah,
so
no, you're
that
right, you're
should
right.
help. That should help.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I don't think Rutgers is like anything crazy, so
Yeah.
we just need to come out and play. Hopefully Michigan beats them really bad, and then they're down in the dumps, and then we get a
Mm-hmm.
bye week off to prepare for them, and then we can beat them up. Um, but I don't know much about Rutgers. I just know that they're always a pretty solid team.
Yeah, my fear with that one is it's a look ahead because you play Michigan next week, and
Yeah,
that's the game. That's
I'm
the game
hoping that
everybody's
I'm hoping
ready
we can look
for.
in the mirror and see that we can't look ahead of any game.
Yeah,
So
that's fair. That's
yeah.
fair. But I mean that is the Michigan game, and I just want to ask this one question. Give me your reasoning for why Michigan State should have a chance in this game.
Okay. The top two reasons is going to sound silly, but all black unis,
Okay, that's sweet.
night
That's sweet.
night game in East Lansing.
Hmm.
Nothing can beat that. Okay. Second of all, it's a rivalry game. You never
Mm-hmm.
know how it's going to go. So if we can come out again like any other game and just start well, we can shock them. So I mean that's what we'll have to do because they're gonna have so much more talent. So we're just gonna have to shock them. It's gonna be a night game. We're gonna get rowdy. And I think it's going to be the crowd and the team versus Michigan. It's not just going to be Michigan versus Michigan State.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. That I mean, that's easily the game you got to be most excited for
Oh
because
yeah,
like you have a decent amount of like great home games on your schedule. You also have Penn State coming. Well, that's going to be at Ford Field,
Ford
so
Field.
that
Yeah,
one's going to be interesting.
yeah.
Um, but I mean, that's probably the best game on campus, 100%.
Oh yeah.
That and Washington coming. So like, those that game it's going to be tight. It's going to be tight. I mean, Michigan State always plays Michigan close, and
Yeah.
they're going to be ready for it.
I mean,
I'm
it could
excited.
be worse than the Washington game, but it could also be the best game we've ever watched. So you
Yep.
really never know with this rivalry. So hopefully we can make it interesting.
All right. So, kind of moving on, looking at the rest of the schedule, you play Ohio State and Penn State
hmm
later, and out of those two teams, I'm just curious, who do you think Michigan State would have a better chance of beating?
I think definitely Penn State because it's at Ford Field.
Okay.
It's not at Penn State Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to win there. But at Ford Field, everyone's going to be home for Thanksgiving, so we're going to have students there, we're going to have alumni there, we're going to have every fan in the state there. So hopefully that place will get rocking, and just like always, we're going to need the crowd to up our talent level to get to Penn State because they're
Yeah.
definitely better than us. But I'm not going to count us out in any game. So um, definitely Penn State over Ohio State. Maybe even more just like because it's at home, but also because Penn State's not as good as Ohio State. It's close, but
Yeah. No,
yeah,
I mean, Penn State and Ohio State are very similar, and I like what you're
that's what
saying
I think.
about
Yeah,
that it's at Ford Field, Um, both games are going to be late games. They're both slated at 7:30, both on NBC, and it's going to be tight. Like that's near the end of the season where there's no room for error. And we
right.
just saw last week where Drew Aller actually had his first game where he struggled. He didn't look great, and their defense kind of carried them home. I think Penn State, it's especially with the way Kim looks right now, we just need to see him look a little better for me to trust State a little more than I do right now.
Right.
But that's why I'm a little scared of Penn State's defense. But Ohio State, there could be ways you could exploit them. Again, they had a great week last week, but we'll see a real test with them with Notre Dame coming up next week. I'm excited, dude. Like, I'm pumped for college football. And Michigan State, even though it didn't look great this week, the environment's crazy.
hmm
You guys got Michigan coming up. That's going to be a crazy game. I'm so pumped for that. I mean, your schedule's nuts.
Yeah.
So it's going to
Yeah.
be a fun year. Even if the football season doesn't go how you want, it's going to be a fun year, dude. I'm pumped
Yeah.
for this. I'm
No
pumped for
doubt.
state
No
football.
doubt. I mean, we could
Yeah.
lose every single game, and I'd still. I mean, all the game days are just so fun. So I'm not worried about it. But
Yeah.
hopefully we can catch a few W's, and
All
make the
right.
season from.
So last question before we get out of here. I want to
Yeah.
talk about the coaching just a little bit. If you guys were to move on from Mel Tucker, is there a specific coach in mind that you'd want to try to get? And I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, so
Yeah.
I mean,
Um. I mean, I think we should move on from Mel Tucker first of all.
okay.
I was never really a Tuck coming guy, so like I'm fine with getting rid of him. He for
Oh,
what he did.
oh,
So
breaking news. Michigan
what's
State
that?
just terminates Mel Tucker.
Really?
Breaking
That just
news
happened.
right now.
I feel like there's
Man,
always breaking news when I'm on the podcast.
it's crazy. It's crazy. But okay, so he's gone. He's gone
Yeah.
now. So let me rephrase the question. Um if you're looking into next year, because I'm sure you guys will just go with this, would you want to like I'm sure D'Antonio would be one of the names that you'd
Yeah.
love to consider, but like I'm thinking of a guy like maybe a Matt Campbell who's at Iowa State. That's a very solid coach that people like a lot. Or I mean, even like some offensive coordinators around the country, maybe even some NFL guys you could be looking
Right.
at. But like with State, again, this it hasn't been circled a lot, but State's one of those jobs where it's like it's not a high tier Big Ten job, but it's like above that average tier Big Ten job. So I
hmm
do think you could go after some people and like it's
Yeah.
definitely going to be an attractive job,
I
100%.
think I think we have obviously we have money because we tried to waste it all on Mel.
Mhm.
Um, and then the the team. I mean, we've been good in the past, so it's not like he's coming in and whoever's coming in is coming in to coach some garbage program. You know what I mean? So hopefully he can. So whoever comes in, I don't really know who's available these days, but
Yeah.
I would definitely like to see D'Antonio come back. I think that would be awesome. I think I mean, he's obviously already got the campus in the palm of his hand. So if he came back and was able to do something with this program, that'd be pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting. I'm so pumped that that happened as we're recording. That's hilarious. That's crazy. But I mean, like now looking at it, at Michigan State's like in the future, you're looking at it and now you know what's coming. You don't have Tucker anymore. Like there's
Right.
no suspicion there. So now you can just practice normal. It's going to be like this the rest of the year. It probably helps them a little bit, to be honest, in
Hmm.
the long run for this season. So if I was a Michigan State fan, I'd be happy that they finally just made a decision here and cut him loose, you know?
Yeah, I think I heard earlier that they were just suspending him until like October just to fire him. So I don't
Okay.
think anyone was expecting him to stay around anyway.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, hopefully as the weeks go on, it's like the team gets more used to the new staff and the new mentality of the whole program.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm excited. I think it'll be a solid year for State. I think if I had to look at it, I made a prediction for Purdue on the mini podcast, and I had them at like 7-5. I think Michigan State, it could be similar, like a 7-5 season.
Yeah,
And I think that's a very good season for a year where your coach is gone. You know, that's like a
yeah,
very solid season, and it could build into something next year. Maybe you hire this new coach, or
right.
maybe you hire Mark D'Antonio. You know, I still think it's going to be a very attractive job, and people are going to want to go there. So overall, in a future side of Michigan State football, I'm excited for your future.
I think it's
Like,
bright.
yeah, I think it's very bright, and having this Mel Tucker thing off of your shoulders should be a sign of relief, you know?
Yeah,
And I'm excited. Well, Aaron, thank you so much for joining the podcast,
of
man.
course.
Little short podcast today, and of course, we had some breaking news on the podcast. That is awesome. That is
Yep.
awesome. But yeah, I mean, I had a blast in East Lansing, man. Like, it was a lot
Yeah,
of
it
fun.
was fun.
Yeah,
That was a fun weekend.
we had a blast. We played 18 holes
Yep.
on Sunday. Didn't play great, but that's all right. That's
It's
all
all
right.
good.
It,
It's
it
all
was
good.
fun. It was fun. But Aaron, thanks so much for joining the podcast. And that is going to wrap up Jake's takes for today. And we'll see you next time. Peace.